This episode, we review Avengers Endgame with all the spoilers in the world, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it now, then proceed. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you've tuned into The Chocolate Dollar Show.
Hailing from the Midwest region of the United States, we introduce to you the Chocolate Dollar Podcast.
Is it the Chocolate Dollar Show or the Chocolate Dollar Podcast?
So I've been calling it the Chocolate Dollar Show for a while, just because eventually I do want it to transition to what we have today. Hey, speaking of which,
Hi.
If you're listening to this, you can also watch it on YouTube. We do have cameras set up. There's a reason for that. We'll explain it later. But that's why I've been calling it the Chocolate Dollar Show as of
You
late.
can see our beautiful faces finally.
Yeah.
you can
Unfortunately.
you can see me be on my phone for half of the podcast.
Yeah, which is what he does.
Literally.
Every time.
Anyways, really quick, my name is Jonathan. To my left, we have
Noah.
And
Hi.
then last but certainly not least, we
The
have
man himself, Grant, who will never
That's
introduce
Grant.
himself.
This is his face. You can see it now if you're on YouTube.
Yeah, you can see his just look of utter disappointment through the entire time.
If you're listening to this,
Imagine
what
your
does he look
mom
like?
being disappointed in
Okay,
you.
yes,
Imagine
we'll go with
the
that.
good-looking Thor when he had the kind of the beard
Sit up
going
next
on.
to your mic, Hooligan.
Imagine the good-looking Thor kind of with his beard and he's scowling
Yeah.
at you just mildly, just enough to be like.
The good-looking Thor, a.k.a. the bro Thor in Endgame, which is what we're talking about today.
Yep.
Spoilers.
We're gonna get really
Big
into
time.
it.
As
if
of
you-
right now,
yes.
Thor's fat.
Fat Thor, 2019, best Thor.
Amen. All right, what do we want to talk about first, boys?
Well, so
Endgame's good.
yeah, it is really good. I guess we can kind of go into specifics about because for those of you who don't know, we have a show on YouTube called Dinner and a Movie where we review a movie over dinner and determine what was better, the dinner or the movie. We did Endgame recently, and we usually try to keep really spoiler free.
We want to have them short and concise, and it's more of like a game for us. Like the movie that is related to the film, we kind of match that with the film.
You mean
So
the
we-
food?
what
You
did
said
I
the
say?
movie matched with the film.
That's what I meant. The film.
The food. The food is
movie.
inspired by the movie
The
in
food.
some fashion, whether it's something that was in there or it's just something like, I don't know. This.
So for dinner and a movie for Avengers Endgame, we did tacos because Hulk hands tacos to Lang, and then we did beer because
Thor.
Bro Thor or Fat Thor, whatever you want to call him.
and then we did burgers because I love E3000. So
Real twos.
okay,
Pour one out for Iron Man.
we could start at the. do you guys want to start at the beginning?
that's
in the beginning.
That's a
In the
logical
beginning,
spot
God
to
created
start.
Iron
heavens and
Man.
the earth. Yeah.
So Iron Man is the beginning.
In the beginning, an RPG created Iron Man.
Yeah. So the beginning of Endgame, everyone's dead.
Yeah, everyone who died in Infinity War. So, Iron Man.
Iron Man's in it.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know where to start.
Yeah, Grant. How do you want to?
You're gonna have to check out the video for that one.
Just timestamp all these things as Grant's shenanigans that we have to deal with on the regular.
Most of the time, you don't get to see him.
So the movie is really good, and like we've said on our dinner and movie video, it's everything that you want it to be if you're a fan of the series.
Yeah.
It has a lot of good callbacks, a lot of good moments that pay off or pay homage to
The previous 10 years.
Previous
Yeah.
10 years, yeah.
And I mean, we can get right into that too. We can talk about the time travel element because
Yeah.
you said this in the dinner and a movie episode, but it's the middle, like the second act of Endgame is pretty much a best of Marvel.
The middle hour.
films. Yeah, the middle hour where they go back in time and they're like they show up in New York in 2012. They
During the Avengers.
revisit. I wouldn't call what's it called? The one with the dark elves.
Oh, Dark
And-
World.
Dark World. I wouldn't call
I
that
wouldn't
the best
call that
of.
the best stuff, but honestly, they make it worth it. Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you've seen
Yeah.
Dark World,
They
and
justify
you know it's
it with this movie.
you're like, oh wow, like okay, like this actually feels like a full film now.
Yeah.
It doesn't if you rewatch it. It still sucks, but they make
And
it
that's
better.
the thing with the Marvel movies too. Just as a culmination, especially these first 20. Was it 22 now?
I think so.
Technically,
Yeah, I think with Endgame it's 22.
Yeah. So with 22 movies, like they have to be experienced together. Like
You really do have to watch all of them to appreciate the whole thing.
Yeah.
And even though there are some
standalones that you can watch by themselves, and they're great movies. Regardless,
and there are definitely some odd ducks that like are not good.
yeah, they're still like not
Thor: The Dark
horrible
World is
movies,
one
but
of
they're
them.
yeah. but they all make each other better.
Yeah.
Like even the standalones are that much better because of even the crappy ones, and the better ones are elevated because of the worst ones are elevated because of the better ones. In my opinion, that purely
They're
subjective.
still bad
there.
movies.
In my opinion, if they knew Thor: The Dark World was going to be so important, maybe they should have made it like good.
movie.
Yeah.
Because it's kind
It
of like
really does do quite a bit in that movie. Like the movie itself, Thor: The Dark World, which this isn't about Endgame at all, but it
ties
is
into
in a
it.
way.
Like
Thor: The
any
Dark
Marvel
World.
conversation ties into Endgame somehow. So
Thor: The Dark World has a lot that it kind of accomplishes, but for all the things that it does in that movie in that time frame, the movie is boring. Like it doesn't feel like anything happens in that movie, but it still has the convergence, which could lead up to. It sounds like now in Homecoming, there's going to be a multiverse, which
Far
that's
From
the.
Home.
What did I say? Homecoming.
yeah.
I do that every time. Yeah, so they planted some seeds for that plot thread that they're just now tugging on. They obviously have one of the first Infinity Stones, the Reality Stone.
Yeah. Or the ether.
The Ether. They have obviously Thor and Loki. Loki dies again, but doesn't die, which sets up Ragnarok and stuff in that movie.
Which is the best of the Thor movies.
Yeah, there's just a
entirely.
lot that kind of happens in that movie, and yet at the same time, nothing.
it's like a
happens in that
pit
movie.
stop for watching the Marvel movies. So if you're gonna like marathon them, this is when you go to.
That's the
bathroom.
one you can yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Or this is the one that you can do homework during and
Yeah.
like
You
just
can
pay
put
attention
it on
every
the
couple.
background. Yeah,
Yeah, just pay attention every couple
Text
of
to
5
speech
minutes.
the script, and you have the same movie.
You have
Anyway,
the same emotional
but-
pull. Yeah,
But getting back to Endgame, so the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the quintessential cinematic experience of our generation.
definitely, it is the number one.
And Endgame is
We actually mentioned that at the start. The only other longevity-wise series that can rival that is
Fast and Furious, actually.
Fast
Really?
and Furious.
Oh,
Money wise,
interesting.
like
Okay.
the number of films and the money wise it's made, like we were talking about that in the previews for watching Endgame.
I mean, if you
again.
count just like the first Star Wars movie, then like it kind
Yeah.
of puts all the other ones ahead.
technically Star Wars, but I wouldn't consider Star
That-
Wars.
that's
like-
not an
they
odd
had
generation.
they had a big gap in between.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
they have a little bit of it that's for every generation, whereas Marvel is specifically like this
This is our
generation
generation,
of
yeah.
film.
And my dad, he loves the movies.
Well, I mean, most people that see him, I think, do love the movies.
Yeah.
Like it is, like we've said before, a
They're
cultural phenomenon.
they're all good action movies. They're all good dramas.
They're all
Sci-fi.
funny. They all
Yeah.
have very funny moments.
Yeah.
like laugh out loud funny moments.
even the
So.
super serious ones, like Endgame, which I would consider as more serious
What
than.
has the most serious tone? Probably Dark World, actually. Dark World probably,
Which is
has the most
probably
serious
why it
tone.
like. Yeah, I guess I could agree with that.
Maybe Winter Soldier. Winter
Yeah,
Soldier's
yeah.
pretty-
Winter Soldier definitely has
still has some
probably
good
the
fun
most
moments,
like serious. That's one of the better ones too, though. Like,
top 5 Marvel movies
yeah,
for me,
yeah.
for sure.
Ooh, we should do that at the end of this episode.
Talk about top 5.
Yeah, top
I have
5.
five.
I was gonna. You're ready. I'm gonna have to think about it.
I
But,
have my list. Endgame though.
yeah, Endgame. So it's really interesting. So I got to point this out too. Our missing member Ed, who's not here at the moment, rest in peace.
He's not dead. He's just
He just-
lives in a state away from us.
Yeah. It was
Not
funny
to do
'cause-
that number.
Yeah, he's about to leave us too. So Ed totally called them killing Thanos in the first like 20 minutes of the movie.
I didn't think that they would.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
just went,
super. He made the joke
with their
that
head.
he made the joke as we were walking up to the theater. Watch them just kill Thanos in the first 20 minutes, and the rest of it's just a social commentary and dealing with loss, which is hilarious because
That's
the
the
first
first
act
act.
is
That's
literally
literally
that.
the first act.
So Ed, props to you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was-
it was a joke, but it was
He was
accurate.
spot on.
So I speaking of that scene, I really love how they did it because just how the cuts work. It goes the
The
perspective,
shots in
yeah,
Thanos' like
Oh, the
little
death
hut
scene?
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing is it's sudden. It's not like we're gonna kill him. It's boom,
Yeah.
his head's off. It is.
It's
it
a
is-
shocking moment
He
for sure.
he as a character had more to say.
Yeah.
Like he was gonna say.
He was
more.
like gonna talk to Nebula and like,
Yeah.
kind of apologize for being a dick to her, basically.
maybe
Maybe.
not. Or he was gonna be like.
Well, he
my
said I've
whole-
been too harsh, and then Thor was like, no.
Yeah, but like he had more to say. It was quite literally just it was sudden and it was a good death.
Well,
Yeah.
and even that death carries serious weight for Thor for the rest of the movies. Like, he deals with heavy bouts of depression in this movie, which is crazy.
I personally think, with the exception of Tony, Thor is probably the character amongst the original Avengers that has had probably the most character development throughout all the films.
The most emotional character.
Because he's definitely
I think he's changed the most.
Yes, he's had because he starts off super cocky and just kind of all about him. Yeah, very hot-headed, and he doesn't ever necessarily lose that.
But he's still a little bit more humble and
he gets more humble with each.
Focused on doing what's right instead of just being a douche. And, showing himself off.
Yeah, and when you look at Ragnarok too, because he the entire time he's dealing with, and this is him in Endgame. You see the culmination of him dealing with
loss of his people, loss of his father, loss of his home.
He's dealing with loss as well as kind of going through an identity crisis, because his whole life,
the big thing in Endgame is him failing. He feels like he's failed his people, he's failed his family, because literally everyone in his family is dead now. I mean, he's dealing with loss. He basically has survivor's guilt, and he feels like he's failed everyone in his life. The first time you see him in Endgame after the 5 years later has passed, he is in his village of people, but he hasn't left his...
He's very secluded.
Yeah, he's just cut himself off from everyone because he's so...
Everything except the cable. That needs to get fixed. That's been pissing him off.
And new Master 69. He likes to trash talk him still. But they come in and they see him in good spirits, but you can tell he's just very lost and...
broken, honestly.
Yeah. And it's weird seeing somebody that powerful like that.
One thing that it was interesting, I read an article that pointed out that if you look at all the original Avengers, each of them are in one state of grief, or
they're
you know what
all
I'm saying.
Dealing with grief. A different stage of grief throughout Endgame.
Different stage of Mike Spikes.
Turning
it the wrong way.
Tony's with accept.
Yeah, Tony's. I got you.
Tony's is acceptance.
Righty tighty, lefty
Hawkeye's
loosey boys.
is anger. Thor's is depression.
Nope. Try again.
Keep talking.
Wow, this is really something. I mean, they're all dealing with different stages of grief.
Can you go through because I actually wasn't paying attention. I was watching Jonathan spin it the wrong direction.
I don't know what the 6 stages of grief are off the top of my head. Thor's dealing with depression.
Denial, depression.
Acceptance.
Is...
Cap and Black Widow are definitely
Natasha.
denial.
Yeah.
Denial, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's Captain. Is Iron Man acceptance then?
I would say
Tony
so.
is definitely acceptance because he's moved on. He has a family now.
Yeah.
He's not gonna deal with it anymore.
Yeah, and he's the only character when you think about it that's
has something to lose. Honestly,
has
something to lose. All the other characters at this point are willing to just.
One is bargaining. I don't know who would be bargaining though. Maybe
Natasha.
Maybe Natasha.
Yeah, I feel like. Yeah.
No, Clint.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
He's anger though.
Either way, they all represent a stage of grief, and
maybe Hulk. He's bargaining for a new life.
Yeah.
No, he seems to have everything figured out.
Kinda.
Yeah.
He's I don't know.
I see this as a total win.
Somebody made an article. They're smarter than we are.
Yeah. But I always thought that was interesting too. How when you look at the different.
We'll try to throw the link in the description.
Yeah, if I can find it again, I'll throw it in the description. It may or may not be there.
Probably not though.
It's a mystery. You'll have to find out.
Yeah. We'll find out sooner than we were.
They are all wrestling with Thanos. It definitely rocked their world, and it's finally the villain actually won and accomplished something. To an extent, that happened in Civil War with Zemo. That he kind of won.
Yeah.
And Avengers kind of disbanded or were at least fractured, but Thanos definitely won.
Yeah.
Until Endgame happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's until the Endgame.
They didn't do it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just now really quick. We mentioned this in the Dinner and a Movie episode, but we should talk about. So obviously, there's a bunch of people who I feel like are kind of the casual Marvel fan, where they'll watch the bigger ones that are really advertised. They may be like
the
a couple,
Avengers movies, but they won't watch Ant-Man.
Yeah,
or they won't see Doctor
So that
Strange
being said, the only flaw that we could really find with this movie, aside from a ton of nitpicky things that are kind of just whatever, you can dismiss them, is that you need to experience.
Iron Man didn't take his shirt off.
That's not entirely true.
He did.
Deep V-neck at the beginning of the movie.
Fan service.
But the biggest drawback is you have to watch a bunch of movies to fully appreciate what Endgame is. So what I think we should do, for those who are not the biggest Marvel fans who haven't watched through all of them, we should, and I know we've talked about this before, what are the definitive movies that you think a viewer has to watch in order to at least get an ounce of appreciation for Endgame?
You definitely have to see all the Avengers movies.
Yeah. Which, up to this point, there's only 3 before Endgame.
Right.
So that's not that difficult.
I would say you have to see Civil War. You should see Spider-Man Homecoming, because you see a lot more of Tony's relationship with Spider-Man, and that's a big deal for him in Endgame.
It's also why that's such a heavy loss in Infinity War as well.
Yeah. I would say Ragnarok to an extent.
So we're saying what we have to watch, what you don't
Yeah.
watch.
Oh, you
So-
found the
Yeah,
list.
I figured
So
we
should
made a
we
list.
should jump back to our actual phase 1. So this is not the definitive list. I just searched Iron Man in my text and found the first one.
From go ahead.
From like
This whatever. It was a while ago. It
Yeah.
was probably a month ago or something. We were talking about.
yeah, it was
the
in
most
May.
definitive.
This
in
isn't the group chat though. This is somebody else, but that's
Yeah, this is. I think I've sent in this list to someone else for finalization. So we've said Iron Man is a must watch. Like definitely.
100%, because that's
phase 1. Iron Man and Avengers for sure.
Yeah, no, well, let's just go down the list, okay?
sure,
Iron Man must watch. Incredible Hulk. You do not have to watch that.
No.
Summarize it.
yeah. You can watch a
Cliff
recap
notes.
video.
Yeah, no. Hulk
You can watch a
gets
recap
mad.
video.
Hulk finds himself, and then all
And then
that's
they find
forgot.
a new actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Iron Man 2. I said you do not need to watch that.
No.
No, not really. I mean,
Thor. I think you have to watch that.
Yeah.
If
I feel
nothing
like,
else to set up Loki for Avengers.
Yeah,
Well,
nothing
yeah,
else to set up a main character.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say like 'cause
Group of characters.
the I hesitate to say this because I'm not so sure how I feel about the first Avenger, but like you got to at least see one movie of all the establishing members that have solo movies, because obviously
I think in the first. I think the only one out of the first one that you don't have to see is Iron Man.
Iron Man 2,
Iron Man
and
2.
Hulk.
Yeah, and the Incredible Hulk.
yeah, those are the
I
only
think
phase
two.
1.
Yeah, phase 1.
So Iron Man,
So watch.
Thor, Captain America, First Avenger, and the Avengers.
Yes, watch those.
Mm.
Then we move to phase 2, and in phase 2 we have Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man.
Yeah,
So from the top,
Guardians and Age of Ultron,
for sure.
I think are for sure.
but from the top, Iron Man 3. I don't think you need to see that.
Not really. I personally liked Iron Man 3 more than other people did, but it's not a must watch for everything else.
The only reason I would say here's when you want to watch it. If you really like Iron Man as a character, you get some good character development in this movie.
Yeah.
And he changes as a person essentially during this time.
But it's not a must-watch.
No, you can summarize it. I would say we're definitely not saying don't watch. You have to summarize them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't want to watch all 22 movies, then we're telling you the movies that you should watch at least.
Yeah. Okay. So then Thor: The Dark World. Summarize the crap out of it. Just read.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah. Winter Soldier. I really like Winter Soldier. I don't think it's needed.
I don't think it's a must-see. It is a very, very... You should see
Highly
it.
recommended, but not required.
It's not required for the overall...
No.
But seriously, do yourself a favor and watch the Winter
It
Soldier.
is going to introduce the character, the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And
Bucky.
Falcon.
And Falcon, yeah.
Which are very important, and you're going to be a little bit lost.
You can kind of catch up.
Yeah,
but
if you're summarizing, you're going to understand who these characters are.
Yeah.
And their emotional weight, but it's going to be a little bit lessened. Then we move on to Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that is a must
100%.
I feel like you could get away with not watching it, but there's so many characters that are introduced
That's
that
also
are
the-
very important later.
That's also the most that you get of Thanos before Infinity War.
That's
is
why
true.
I think you it's crucial to the characters, not to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need to know who the Guardians of the Galaxy
It
are,
sets up the
because
Power
That's
Stone
the
as
Asgardians of the
well,
Galaxy.
So that's,
yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is a must watch.
definitely Age of Ultron.
Age of
I
Ultron's
don't
already
really
established.
like Age of Ultron.
It's definitely the worst Avengers movie.
I think
far.
I think it's really great because
I still enjoyed it a lot.
as a vehicle
It's okay.
to introduce Vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
like
it.
even Vision... he did.
He's a character anyway.
I feel like you should.
Ant-Man. No, don't watch
Ant-Man,
Ant-Man.
You don't have to watch it.
Ant-Man's good. I
Yeah.
think it's underrated as well in the Marvel movies, but it's
It's one of the
necessary.
funniest.
It's
The
very
funniest.
funny.
You do not need to watch it.
It's one of the first to kind of introduce the humor heavy element that is currently in the MCU.
And you can definitely tell that Edgar Wright influenced its tone and
Yeah.
some set pieces as well.
I think that you do not need to watch it. If you summarize it, you'll understand things that are important later that are in that movie. I guess this is a spoiler. You'll understand people shrinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
It mostly just introduces you to Ant-Man and who he is. And
they barely introduce the quantum realm and just like
Yeah,
a
the quantum
one-off
realm's
near the end. Like it's a scene near the end that they show, but it's not a big
We'll
deal.
get to the quantum realm.
okay, phase 3.
Civil War, you have to watch.
Yes,
that
100%.
sets up all of the emotional connections between Iron Man and
It sets up how the
Captain